Live from Whitney Media, 1460 WVOX and WVOX.com, this is Livable Cities with White Plains City Councilwoman Milagros Lecuona. Livable Cities, dedicated to smart growth, the protection of our environment, and making Westchester a better place to live for you and your family. Join Milagros and her guests at 914-636-0110. Now on 1460 WVOX, Livable Cities. Here's White Plains City Councilwoman Milagros Lecuona.
Good afternoon. This is the perfect time of the year to start talking about farming in the sense that you can start putting to place your farming abilities. And if you haven't find out what farming abilities you have, this is the perfect time of the year to really put your hands on the soil and start experimenting. Earth Week is coming very close, and I think that will give you a great opportunity to celebrate that occasion. And if you haven't done any community gardens, any type of gardening in your backyard or in your front yard, I think that will be a great occasion. So if you haven't done it, I really recommend that type of experience. And if you have done it, then I am just talking to the choir. And another guest, his name is Bruno. He's a resident from White Plains, and we are going to be talking, and please, Deb, if you don't mind, remain in the line if you want to add any comments to whatever we are talking about.
Sure.
Now, we are going to be bringing, you are a professional farmer, and what Mr. Bruno has done is just unbelievable, because this is a beautiful community in White Plains that there was no vegetable garden, and he, as the president of the board, brought this initiative, and now they have a beautiful vegetable garden, and they have even a waiting list of residents from that development that would like to join. And he was very kind to accept my invitation and walk us through the whole process from having just lawn and now having a beautiful vegetable garden. Lou, are you there?
Yes, I am. Good afternoon, Milagros.
Good afternoon. So good to hear from you, and thank you so much for accepting my invitation. So
thank you.
I'm sure that a lot of residents in Westchester would like to know how you did it, because you had to go through the whole board, and I'm going to please ask you to walk us through your experience.
Well, first of all, we'd have to have a wonderful councilwoman to prod us a little bit.
You didn't have to say that.
You came to Bryant Gardens one day and said, we have 22 acres. We're a pretty large co-op, 409 units. And you said, well, Bryant Gardens has lots of gardens, but I don't see any vegetables. And we thought, Milagros is exactly right. Our board, fortunately, is a fairly proactive board, and they're sustainability-minded. And
right.
Talked to them. I did this in collaboration with Rose Hogan, who's the vice president on the board,
right,
and also very interested. And we talked to them in terms of having, safe, fresh, organic food for their table, food that's tastier, that's diverse. They could plant heirloom and heritage varieties. It's truly local. I'm talking about locavore. You can't get any closer than out in your backyard.
Right.
And gardening, as I'm sure you know, as a long-term gardener, is a very relaxing and absorbing hobby. It's good, healthy exercise. And I think the thing that...
Lou, we have
yes.
to go to a break, and when we come back, it will be wonderful if you walk us from where there was nothing and now you have this beautiful garden. We are listening to WVOX Worldwide and WVIP HD4. This is Livable Cities. And I am talking to Lou Bruno. He's a resident of White Plains. He's the president of Bryant Gardens, a beautiful housing development. And he, together with another person in the board, Rose, they really support the building of this vegetable garden that is beautiful. And it has a lot of diversity in this small lot. When you consider with our previous guest that she is growing more than 1 acre, but it's enough to have how many of your residents have space in that lot, Lou?
The residents don't have an acre. They have 8 feet by 8 feet each, which turns out to be quite enough to grow a lot of good vegetables. You were asking how we got this going, and the first thing we did was to poll to see just how many of our residents would be interested in a community garden, and we were amazed at the pent-up interest. People were just chomping at the bit. It's something they'd wanted to do all along, and so we really had a lot of support among the residents. The second thing we did was to look at the community gardens that are already in Westchester, elsewhere. I'm sure you know there's a big one in New Rochelle where you are now, in Mount Vernon, Yonkers, Ossining, Katona, South Salem, etc. And in White Plains, we've always had one at the New York Hospital, which now the city government is involved with. So we talked with these people to see what was needed physically, what attributes the garden had to be successful. So we did things like to build a very strong 6-foot-tall fence. We used a box garden, which lifts the actual garden a little bit above the surface and keeps it a little bit warmer and protects it better. We put a mesh underneath the garden so that animals couldn't burrow up. We learned a lot of tricks. Some of the aspects of building a garden, your listeners, if they're really interested in getting into it more deeply, could go to our website. We have a website specifically for the garden at bcg.bryantgardens.com. That's BRYANTGARDENS.com. bcg.bryantgardens.com. And we pretty much documented the entire website from the beginning right up to the awards we won last year that we're very proud of.
Very well deserved.
I'm sorry?
Very well deserved award.
Thank you.
Because, you are going to be my guest in another occasion, because I know that you in your development has done much more than just the vegetable garden to bring sustainability practices and that's laudable because it is not easy to educate people and then not just educate them, but find the fundings and convince people that increasing their maintenance and but explain them what the benefits for the environment and everything. So I will have you back to go over that stuff. But
thank you.
I know that your garden it should be, and I'm glad that you have it documented in your website, because I see that as a model that should be replicated by other developments like yours. I mean, people should really identify an area and have the residents get together and grow vegetables and flowers and so on, because it's much more than what is coming from the earth. You are telling me that there are some beautiful stories that has come from this new activity. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. One of the things which I think you and I have talked about in the past is that I believe, and I think you agree, that co-ops and condos are really ideally suited for these community gardens because they already have some a homogeneous population. The people that live there are pretty much in the same economic strata. They already know each other a little bit, and when you put them together in a garden, one of the things that we were absolutely astounded by and gratified was not only all the wonderful vegetables, but the tremendous community that developed in the garden. The 21 gardeners that we had the first year all became not fast friends, but they were really good neighbors. People who didn't know each other suddenly were helping each other out. Oh, I can get you some seeds, or watering, or yes, I'll cover for you, or I think you're planting those things a little too close. Let me tell you what we learned last year, and it's a wonderful thing to see. And we're talking about all across the economic strata, at least here, which is not. We don't have millionaires and we don't have paupers, but we do have a strata, and all kinds of people, black, white, green, whatever, just everybody from all walks of life, all different ages. Our oldest gardener is in her mid or late 80s now, and our youngest is a 2-year-old.
And the products that they plant are also all the colors, as you just said, right? So they bring exotic things that other members of this garden, they don't even, when they see them in the supermarkets, they don't know about it. And now they are finding out that they are wonderful ingredients for food, for cooking.
Well, that's a very good point. I'm taking the orders right now for the garden that's going to open at the end of April. And I'm getting orders for bok choy.
Okay.
Which we never had before. They all wanted tomatoes and lettuce. And where did that come from? It came from B.B. Latif, one of our gardeners who comes from the West Indies, and had a wonderful jungle of a garden, exotic, with all kinds of things. And we would ask her, what is that? And she would say, well, I'll make a little of this for you, or taste this. And people are now growing things that they didn't know about a couple of years ago.
And what do you do in the winter when when people then are not that willing to go out? How do you prepare it to put it to sleep, or what do you do?
We till it at the end. We turn it over, till it at the end of the season. We don't really do anything with the land itself, but we do hold several meetings during the winter. We tried to get somebody who is a master gardener to come and talk about some aspect of it, and we get wonderful attendance.
Like, where are you now? Did you already started preparing it?
Yes, we've already, in the spring, we test the pH and make sure that's balanced. Last year, we...
How did you test it for people that want to start a garden and they don't know what you are talking about?
Well, the balance of acidity and alkalinity in the soil determines to some extent whether or not a particular vegetable will thrive there. And when it's too far out of balance, the normal balance is around what's called pH 7. If it's too far out, then you're going to wind up with stunted plants or plants that taste very bitter. So we test that early on. We did some organic treatment for grubs that we had last year that seemed to like our cucumbers more than we did. And we tilled it over because one of the problems that any farmer has is that you can't keep planting the same thing in the same spot.
And Lou, what do you do about things like pesticides and fertilizers and that? So in a small lot, it's not really that small, but everybody will at the end finish with a relatively small area where they can plant a few things that they can eat at the end of the day. But if everybody comes with different components and fertilizers and pesticides and so on, I'm pretty sure that you must have some guidelines. Well,
we found that to have an organic garden that works, where you have everybody, as you say, coming from different perspectives, we had to exercise a little bit of rule control, so that if there is a problem, the gardeners will come to. This year we have, and last also we had supervised. The gardener would come to and say, "I've had this problem. What can I do?" And then they were guided in treatment in an organic way, because we don't want anybody bringing in pesticides.
Right.
It's an organic garden. You don't put chemicals in it.
Have you noticed if the property values of your development has increased after you started doing this garden?
It was very interesting that the realtors started to put the garden on the MLS postings, yes.
Well, we have to kind of close the show today, but I think that we are closing it with a very good note that vegetable gardens also increase property values and keep the community together. So I hope that you too, and I hope that, Deborah, you are still there. Thank you so much, and that you will be willing to come back to my show. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend. You are listening to WVOX Worldwide, WVIP HD4. This is Milagros Lecuona. Thank you.